Welcome to this next YouTube where I've entitled it Summer Grooming and Vaccinations, and that is really what has taken our time this week. We are continuing to brush out the wolves, and we are continuing to deal with a little bit of heat. And again, heat this time of the year is more problematic than heat in July because the wolves are still carrying their winter coats. Wolves tend to shed once a year, usually starting in late May into early June, and you can see by Grizzer here he's starting to what we call blow his undercoat, and they don't shed necessarily multiple times a year like a dog. They shed once a year and they let that hair go. So we try to facilitate the cooling by giving them, obviously he was choosing on a frozen chicken there, but we also try to help get rid of that undercoat. And so they have their permanent guard hairs, and those are the long hairs that are permanent, growing again usually when they're 3 or 4 months of age. Into the fall is their first year. That's when they get those guard hairs, and then that undercoat, they grow that each fall. And actually, by the time we get done grooming and get rid of all of that undercoat, usually in late July, they'll start growing it back again in August. So this is Grizzer. Like I say, he blows his in sheets, and once it starts coming, you just keep pulling it out. And this is also the time of the year for vaccinations. Every wolf here gets a rabies vaccination as well as a 5-way parvo distemper vaccination. So you can see here one of the reasons why we start grooming is so we can get to this subcutaneous shot. It's very hard to give a shot when you've got so much hair. Grizzer is obviously the easiest wolf for us to vaccinate because, as we have stated before, when Grizzer is spending time alone, he does get a lot of staff time, so he's a lot more tractable to handling because he doesn't have any competition, and that's why it didn't work with him in Shadow, but that's why it kind of works for him to have that staff all to himself. And so Grizzer has a tendency to be more tolerant to things. You know, certainly this grooming is making him feel better. You know, we can get down there and get the dirt out of his hide. He likes it.
Half a wolf,
you know. Wants to roll over and get his belly scratched and cleaned, and that's a common thing for us this time of the year. So our wolf care coats are constantly filled with hair. But the other thing that we do is, as we mentioned last week, are like cedar chips, so it's a good stimulus for them. But in this case, the cedar also helps with the mosquitoes, and you may notice a few clips here where you get some audio noise of the mosquitoes. And yes, they are out, they are thick, and they are problematic for wolf care staff, only problematic really in the faces of the wolves. They're not like the biting flies that actually bite their ear tips. The mosquitoes are just kind of annoying. We do use spray, as you'll see later in the YouTube, where we actually spray some rocks in the exhibit pack to help reduce the insect issues. But for Grizzer, as well as Shadow, just having that opportunity to have those wood chips and those cedar chips helps that situation. Now we do this as well in the exhibit pack, but we have to be a little more cautious. You know, these two in retirement are alone, so they don't have anyone jumping on them when they're rolling around with such excitement. If you can imagine Aiden doing that and having Luna and Bolts nearby, we definitely have to have another method for getting insect repellent capabilities. Shadow is not always so willing to have his vaccination, so one thing that we learn here when handling wolves is you need a lot of patience. There's nothing that you have to do today that makes you force a wolf to do anything. So Shadow got a little agitated with me trying to vaccinate him. You know what? Well, wait till he feels better. Wait till he, you know, is maybe a little bit, you know, calmer, or wait till we have another staff who can help distract. In this case, I didn't have that when I was trying to vaccinate him. So we certainly have seen a perkier Shadow since we've tried to do the introduction with Grizzer. We have to be mindful, though, Grizzer, we don't want any tension between the gates and any frustration. So as one of our members pointed out, you know, that can happen with Shadow greets Grizzer. So we're watching that closely. Shadow feels actually pretty good, very, very alert, very, very good interactions with staff, and so we're not having him visit Grizzer as much because Grizzer is getting a little frustrated, like he wants to get into Shadow's pen. So we'll kind of be monitoring that and making sure that we are making the right decision for both wolves. But as I said, in the exhibit pack, we have Brushing as well. Denali and Bolts have hardly started. Luna is midway. We actually had someone say that Luna wasn't very attractive and they didn't want to photograph her, so we're working hard on making Luna attractive again. And Aiden is probably the most shed out, and because Aiden's got some autoimmune disorders and he tends to not do well with heat, we've been concentrating on him more than anyone else. But what you see here is we sprayed some fly ointment on the rocks and on the ground, and again, just another way to be able to get that ointment on their ears, on their head. I don't like to spray it directly. It actually is an organic spray, so it's not toxic from that standpoint, but still, I don't want to mist anything in their faces. So by scent rolling on it, you can actually get that coverage that you need in order to be protected. So Luna loves the scent roll. So that's it for this week. Next week we have an ethology class starting next Saturday, and hope to have some good behavioral data the following week. So thanks for watching.